Mark Griffith here and welcome to RCHacker. Now today on my head I have a pair of Fatshark Attitude V3s. Now these are a pre-production unit and I've been lucky enough to get hold of these to have a little play with, and they're fully functional. I've put a camera on the front and hooked that up just so I can try these out and walk around with them and see how I feel, like see how the ergonomics of them feel and that sort of thing. Now with this little camera I'll put a little bit of extra weight on them. I've got the battery in my pocket and they're not too bad on my head at all. And I've also got a Sony action cam on there, so that's a bit of extra weight, but with all the extra weight off they're really comfortable. They're not quite as light as my first generation, like the really early Fatshark base 422s that I've got. They're not quite as light as that, but these include an integrated head tracker, and they've also got the modular receiver unit that fits in, I think that fits in here in this little panel. Like that little panel comes off and there's a receiver unit that just goes straight in there, and it comes with a receiver unit, but that I reckon is going to be really handy when if you want to upgrade your receiver unit or change to different frequencies as the technology changes. And the technology is changing as well. Apparently these are 3D ready, and how that works I'm not entirely sure on the details, but I think it's something to do with interleaving lines and things like that. But obviously you're going to have 2 cameras on your multi-rotor if you're going to play with that feature. Now let's go for a walk, and while I'm walking around I'll do some voiceover and talk a bit more about these.
The optics for the Attitude V3s are the same as those for the Dominator V2s, and I thought they were pretty good. I certainly couldn't fault them in any way. The field of view, while narrower than my old base 922s, is wide enough that you can just about make out the individual pixels, which kind of indicates to me that the field of view in these things is wide enough. I did have trouble with these fogging up. I'd put them on early in the morning and when they'd been sitting in the cold office, and if you put them straight on, after a minute or so they'll start to fog up. That's if it's really cold. But as any Fatshark user knows, the easy remedy to that is to, as you're setting up your multi-rotor or whatever, you just wear them on your head and you give them 5 or 10 minutes just to equalize temperature with what your body temperature is, and then they work quite fine once you put them on your eyeballs. They don't fog up. Keeping them on your head also minimizes the chance of direct sunlight getting onto those lenses and ruining the goggles.
Alright, this is going to be interesting. People are going to freak out.
The included receiver unit covers just about every known 5.8 GHz video transmission format. This includes the new Raceband, which has wider spacing between the channels to prevent overlap when running multiple multi-rotors at once. The band is selected by the 2 dip switches, and the channels are selected using the rocker switch on the top of the goggles. This rocker switch is also used to configure the head tracker unit.
G'day. Good afternoon. Hey.
Brightness and contrast is controlled with the small 4-way rocker switch on the top of the goggles. The production unit will probably come with its own battery, but the DC input will take a 2-cell or a 3-cell battery in there. The plug next to that is a standard 3.5mm AV input.
This little camera is no replacement for your eyes. absolutely no replacement. But you know, it's pretty good. You get pretty used to it. All right, let's do it. All right, I can tell you that there's no strain on your eyes. It's like the focus is just, it's very relaxed. You just look as if you're looking into infinity, and it, you know, it works fine, absolutely fine. So I can see that wearing these for longer periods, I don't think they're going to give you a headache or anything like that. And the image is really, really clear. It's just about a perfect square, 4:3 ratio. You can, if you really look carefully, you can just about see the individual pixels. And I'm impressed with this camera as well.
Underneath we have the PS2 style connector for the head tracker unit, followed by the two interpupillary distance adjustments, and these little adjustments are really good. They actually allow some really fine adjustments. They've got a long throw which results in only a small adjustment of the lenses on the inside. And the last switch there is the switch to turn the integrated receiver on and off. When it's off, you have to have an external input for your video signal. And lastly is the headphone socket.
I can imagine one day that this sort of system is going to be wired directly into people's brains, and it'll be great for blind people. Absolutely fantastic. And we made it, I think. Yeah, great. Let's compare these to some other goggles. Have a closer look.
Alright, the only other goggles I have to compare are these Fatshark's 922s, which I've had for about 3 years. These are getting really old now, but I'll still continue using them. I'm really happy with them. They're lighter weight than the Attitude V3s. They're probably one of the few goggles that are lighter than these ones these days. These weigh 110 grams and a little under 4 ounces, but keep in mind there's no receiver and there's no head tracker unit in these. While the Attitude V3s weigh 160 grams, a little over 5.5 ounces there. Now, as for the image quality, of course, these ones shit all over the old ones, and we can have a look at that. I managed to get a camera in there. Keep in mind, putting the camera in and looking at it it's not what it looks like when you're using your own eyes, but if we have a look, you can see that around the edges on these old 422s, you can see there's a lot of blurriness around the edge. You can see that blue haze. Now that's chromatic aberration. The different colors of light bend different amounts around the edges, and this is a problem which happens with lenses and that sort of thing as well. And these go for a much wider field of view than these ones, so there is a trade-off with that. For the wider field of view, you get a bit of distortion around the edges. And these ones, the Attitude V3s, are tack sharp around the edges there, and they're tack sharp right across the screen, so not a problem with the optics in these at all. You do get a smaller field of view with these, but I can tell you, after using them for a while, you forget about all that black around the outside. You forget about that quite quickly, and all you're seeing is that screen right in front of your face. And you know, the only thing letting you down after using these things is the actual quality of the camera that you're using. Thank you, Rob from Next FPV, for sending me these to try out. I've put a link in the description below to the Next FPV store where you can get these when they come out in the next few days. Now, I've done a video on doing a range test on these out in the field, and I've done this with a 25 milliwatt transmitter unit, which is the maximum legal allowed in Australia, and probably maximum legal in a lot of other countries as well. So if you're interested in that, subscribe below. I'll get that out in the next few days, perhaps week or so. Bit of editing to do there. Anyway, if you've enjoyed this, thumbs up. If not, thumbs down. tell your friends, and please comment below. I'll catch you next time. Cheers.
Right, don't FPV and drive, it's not good.